All right, so we're just going to start off. If you don't mind just introducing yourself, tell us a bit about your background, your job, and where you're from.
Sure. My name's Gabe Hoffart. I've been a mortgage broker and in the finance business since 1998. I've worked as a mortgage broker. I've worked as a lender. I've worked as a mortgage underwriter. I've worked as a manager where I was in charge of sales for Western Canada for two different large lending institutions. So currently independent mortgage broker based in North Van.
So what inspired you to pursue a career in mortgage brokering and business?
I started once I finished university back in the mid '90s. It was a tough job market. I was working for a real estate appraisal company at the time. There wasn't a lot of opportunity here in Vancouver, so I moved to Calgary, and that's where I ended up kind of getting into the real estate game, where I was buying and selling houses and fixing them up and so forth. Realized that quite early on that probably the most successful person in my sphere of influence was the mortgage broker I was dealing with, and so I approached her to start working with her. So she was kind of like an on. It was like a infield kind of on-demand job where I worked for her for about 2 years to learn the business of mortgage brokering.
And how hard was that to learn? Was that like very tedious, or was that pretty quick to pick up?
Not really. A lot of paperwork, so you have to be very, very organized. When I was doing it, we did have email, but the event it was a very, very manual business at the time, so had to really, really be on top of your game that way. There wasn't things like Zoom calls, FaceTime, SMS, Messenger, any of that. Most of it was over the phone. I would be faxing documents back and forth. So it was a learning curve in that, but mostly it was the amount of paperwork that I had to deal with.
Yeah. What was your post-secondary journey like?
I started once I left high school. I didn't really quite know what I wanted to do. So I moved from the hometown that I was in, moved into Vancouver, went to Langara College for a year, then went to SFU for a year and a half. And then from there, I was a little bit lost as far as what I wanted to do. I didn't really see an end game in it. At the time, I was also working as a waiter at night for the keg, and got into a program at Langara College called real estate appraisal. So I became a real estate appraiser. That was a 2-year program there. I got a diploma in that, and in actuality, I didn't really work that long as a real estate appraiser, but it gave me a good fundamental as far as evaluating homes, cost analysis, different things like that, which helped me in my business.
Yeah, I was going to say those skills kind of come over.
Yes, they did.
If you were to go back from when you started at Langara College, would you do anything differently?
Oh, I'd become a pilot. I don't think I'd do this job at all. I'd be a pilot. Other than that, I'd still be a pilot. I'll just be honest. There's a romanticism of getting your dream job, but the reality is, after you've worked at it for several years, it is unfortunately just a job. You have to do something that kind of fits your skill set. I think fitting into a type of position, whatever it may be, it has to be something that you enjoy. Like I do like working on finance for the simple fact that there's all sorts of different avenues I can go with. So many different types of clients. It's not cookie cutter stuff. I think the most important is just kind of follow what it is that you want to do, and you do that, and I think the money will come. But most importantly, I think for some coming out of high school, whether they eventually go or they take a gap year, I think all that stuff is fine, all depending on the personal situation. But it is important, especially now, much more than when I was going to school. You need that post-secondary. If you're going to be looking, you're going to be going up against 10 different resumes. I'd say 8 of my resumes have a person with post-secondary education.
Yeah.
As much as I'd like to hire those last two, they have a far leg down.
Yeah.
So
it really doesn't matter the degree as much as the fact that they went.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
I want to see. That's a big thing as far as what I want to see. I do want to see as well that they worked.
Yeah.
If I see that they just went to school and there's no real other side to it.
Yeah.
The strongest people that I see, I don't recall ever looking at to see what their GPAs and stuff. Sorry, teachers, but I didn't really look to see that. I figured if they'd completed all their studies and they have the degree or what have you, that was probably adequate for me.
Yeah.
But what I'd be looking for is what they did to make themselves more of a rounded person, as far as extracurricular, part-time jobs, things like that. Like if I see a person that went to school, whether they went to Capilano University or whether they went to SFU or whether they went to Queens, that mattered to me a certain degree, but it also, I want to see what else they did.
Yeah.
So if I see that person went to Capilano University and they were, they got a degree in business or what have you, and they were also working part-time all the way through, I look at it and I go, that person probably had to work their way all the way through to go to school.
Yeah.
Just because they didn't have the financial wherewithal through their parents to go to Queen's University and all that.
Yeah.
I think it's a dangerous myth that people think they have to go to, whether it's a Western or McGill or U of T or what have you. That's part of it, but it's by no means a critical component.
So what type of advice would you give to students going into that type of field or the business field?
Sure. Everyone wants to kind of start with a high-end job to start with. I'm seeing a lot of instant gratification. I think the road's a little bit farther. As an employer, I've employed people. One of my jobs I had for about 8 years was running an underwriting center plus a marketing team. And I had about 40 staff. Probably I would look at their CVs / resumes to see kind of what they did, and education was very important as far as what they did. I didn't really look as far as what the degree was in, as long as they had post-secondary.
Yeah.
I also looked at the different types of jobs they had through school or while they're in school. In a marketing type of job, I would look to see if what kind of interest that they did, things like that, any kind of volunteerism. I also kind of put a special emphasis if anyone that I saw that worked in a restaurant, worked as a waiter, because I found working as a waiter, I think, is an underappreciated but a very, very good sales on the on the fly sales, because what you're doing is you're selling a client, a patron, and you may have 5, 6, 7 tables all at the same time, where they're constantly turning over. You're constantly trying to create an impact, create a positive experience for them, deliver everything in a timely manner, everything to make the client happy for the next run. I think that's kind of an underappreciated. I'd say that was things like that. Even if you think the job is menial, do it with as strong as you could. I found that I phoned every one of the previous employers on any of the people that I hired to see how they worked, what their positives were, what their negatives were. Those are all kind of important things.
Yeah. Well, that's perfect. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.